offset by some streamlining so that the whole system moves faster. And the way we do that is to provide for a 1-year moratorium on applications for the pre-removal risk assessment and permanent residency for humanitarian compassionate grounds following a negative decision at the Refugee Appeal Division. So, what does that mean? It means you get a full hearing to make an asylum claim at the Refugee Protection Division, a full appeal at the Appeal Division, and an opportunity for second level of appeal at the federal court. But the days when you could have one appeal after another, after another, after another, in the complicated post-claim recourses, as we call them, are over. Because we don't think it's reasonable that someone who clearly made up a story to come to Canada, is not a bona fide refugee, should be able to stay for 4 or 5 years or longer, which is currently the case. Bottom line is this. Under the system we are proposing, an asylum claimant will have greater protection, the advantage of the new appeal division, in the vast majority of cases, and a bona fide asylum claimant should get protection within a couple of months. On the other side, someone who is abusing our generosity as a false claimant would be removed within a year. This, I think, will create for a much more balanced system. We are devoting significant resources to it, $550 million investment. It will also lead to, as I say, faster removals at the back end, and that's something as well that refugee advocates have called for. There's one additional feature to this that I'll briefly explain before taking your questions. That this feature has received a lot of attention, and that's the concept of a somewhat faster process for asylum claimants who come from designated safe countries. Now, this is an idea that we have developed from, we're tracking from a number of Western European democracies have a similar system. And essentially, the reason for it is this. From time to time, we get huge increases in claims, very large numbers in false asylum claims from democratic countries. I just mentioned right now, one in particular, Hungary, our #1 source country for claims, over 99% of which are actually people not in need of protection. Costa Rica in 2004, etc. We need a tool to deal with these huge increases in unfounded claims from democratic countries. And the safe country of origin list would give us that tool. It would allow us to say, if there is a democratic country which is a major source of unfounded claims, we would still allow asylum claimants from that country to access the system and make their asylum claim and be heard like everyone else at the Refugee Protection Division. We would still allow them to make an appeal to the federal court, which is currently the case. The only difference is that they would not have access to the new extra appeal division that we're creating. Because we need to send a message to the people organizing these false claims that they're not going to be able to game the system in Canada any longer and clog it up and force legitimate refugees to wait any longer. And nor will we allow them to tarnish the good name of Canada's asylum system and of refugees in general. And so that is the trade-off. That's part of the streamlining of the system. Essentially, people making claims who are coming from safe countries of origin will have the same process they have now. They'll have the same process as everyone else in the new system, except for one level of appeal, and that means that they will be in a position where we can remove them as false claimants about 4 months more quickly. Now, the last point I will make is that as part of these reforms, Canada will be doing more to assist refugees from abroad to have a new beginning here in Canada. I announced on Monday that we will increase our resettlement targets for the government-assisted refugee program by 500 positions a year, and for the privately sponsored refugee program by 2,000 positions a year, which represents an overall increase of about 20%, 2,500 positions that we will resettle from abroad. These are people who are living in some of the worst circumstances in the world. They are victims of ethnic cleansing. They are victims of warfare. They are victims of persecution. They are living in UN refugee camps, sometimes for 10 or 20 years. They are living in urban slums. We already resettle 1 in 10 from around the world. We are going to do even more to underscore Canada's humanitarian obligation to the most desperate in the world. And secondly, we will also increase by about 20% the refugee assistance program, which provides temporary income support and settlement services to government-assisted refugees. This, again, underscores our commitment to being a place of refuge for those who are most in need, while rebalancing the system to reduce the abuse that we are all aware of and ensure that decisions are made in a fair and timely manner. I'm very pleased to see widespread support for the package. A number of refugee policy experts have said that this is a very noble and commendable effort, that we've hit the right balance. I'm confident that this will receive support in Parliament. I'm confident that it has broad public support. 84% of Canadians tell us in polling that they would like to see fundamental reform of the asylum system. By a margin of 5 to 1, Canadians say they would like to see false refugee claimants removed from the country more quickly, and that is one of the many advantages of the balanced refugee reform package. Thank you for your patience. I'm happy to take your questions.
Minister, despite all the claims that you are making, most of the immigration attorneys in the country, I can speak very loud. Most of the immigration attorneys in the country, and even the NGOs, have strongly criticized the initiative that you have taken. I have a statement here, and that talks of human rights lawyers are outraged at the initiative that you have taken, and it goes on and on and on. And if you read in even the editorial in mainstream papers, there has not been much of a support.
Well, actually, Ajit, I'm afraid I don't agree. We have, for instance, I think I see exactly the opposite response from what I have seen. To give an example, today in the Ottawa Citizen, Peter Schaller, professor and head of the refugee policy think tank at the University of Ottawa, former chairman of the Immigration and Refugee Board, says that the government, that the initiative is an excellent, balanced initiative. He's raised 2 or 3 questions of concern to him, but overall says this is an excellent initiative. My understanding is the Canadian Bar Association has said the same thing, that Lauren Waldman, well-known immigration lawyer here in Toronto, has expressed some concerns about some details in the plan, but overall says it's a very commendable, balanced effort. I see that whether it's the Edmonton Journal or a number of other newspapers around the country have expressed strong